There is a sound your yard makes the moment you open your back door. It is quiet. It is fast. Most people never hear it at all, because it does not sound like a warning, it sounds like nothing. Just a single crow, somewhere up in the trees, giving one short call before going silent again. That call is not random. That crow has been watching your door for longer than you think, and the moment it sees you, it tells every other bird in the area that you have arrived. This has likely been happening every single day you have stepped into your own backyard. Not for a week, not for a season, for months, possibly longer. And the unsettling part is not that a crow is paying attention to you. The unsettling part is what happens next, in the half second after that call goes out. When chickadees freeze, when cardinals stop singing, when an entire yard full of birds you thought were ignoring you quietly rearranges itself around the fact that you exist. Most people assume the birds in their yard either notice them or don't, the way you'd notice a parked car. What's actually happening is closer to an alarm system, with the crow as the dispatcher. And once you understand how that system works, you will never walk out your back door the same way again. Today, by the end of this video, you'll understand why this happens, what the crow is actually saying, and why this single bird may know your habits and your patterns better than some of your neighbors do. If you've ever wondered what your yard sounds like in the language of the birds living in it, subscribe, because we go into yards like this every week, and you're about to get a translation no one else will give you. Here is the first thing nobody tells you. Not every bird is qualified for this job. Sentry duty in a backyard ecosystem is not random. It falls almost exclusively to crows, and there's a specific reason why. Researchers at the University of Washington, led by Dr. John Marsloff, have spent years studying how crows process human faces and human routines. Crows have remarkably strong facial recognition, sharp memory for repeated patterns, and critically they stay in one territory for years. A cardinal might visit your feeder for a season. A crow treats your yard as a long-term study subject. So when a crow recognizes you, specifically your gait, your build, the time you usually come outside it isn't reacting to a human. It's reacting to you. The call it gives is calibrated. Researchers have found that crow alarm calls vary depending on the perceived level of threat, which means the crow watching your door isn't just announcing a person, it's communicating its own risk assessment of you, built from however many times it's watched you come and go. This is why the same crow, after enough repetitions, will sometimes go quiet when you step outside, not because it stopped noticing, but because it has finished deciding you're not a threat. If you're still getting the call every time, months in, that's not the crow being careless. That's the crow telling the rest of the yard something it hasn't told you. It's still not sure about you yet. Here's where it stops being about one bird and starts being about an entire network. The crow's call doesn't just notify other crows. It gets read and acted on by species that share almost no biology with a crow at all. Researchers at Cornell and the University of Exeter have documented something called heterospecific eavesdropping. Smaller birds listening in on alarm calls from species they have no direct kinship with, and adjusting their behavior accordingly. A chickadee cannot interpret crow language the way another crow can, but it doesn't need to. It only needs to recognize the pattern of urgency, and it responds anyway, freezing, going silent, moving toward cover. This means the moment your crow gives its call, you are not triggering a reaction in one bird. You are triggering a cascade. Chickadees nearby will often pause their own calls within seconds. A behavior researchers studying alarm networks describe as a kind of borrowed vigilance, the entire yard going quiet for a beat to process a piece of information that crow just handed them for free. Most people never notice this because it happens in under 2 seconds and resolves just as fast. You step outside, The yard goes still for a moment, and then resumes, and you read that stillness as coincidence, or as nothing at all. It isn't nothing. It's an entire ecosystem of birds pausing in real time to listen to a report filed on your behalf by a bird you've probably never once thought of as paying attention to you specifically. So far, this sounds almost flattering, a small, sophisticated alarm system, quietly running in the background of your yard. Here is the part that changes the tone. If a crow has been calling out your arrival for months, that crow has also been building a profile of you that updates every time you appear. This is not a guess. Marsluff's research team ran an experiment where researchers wore a specific mask while trapping crows a single, controlled negative encounter, and afterward, crows in the area scolded that mask on sight for years. Years, not because the mask repeated the offense, because the crow remembered it, attached a threat level to it, and never fully revised that judgment downward. Now think about what that means for you. A person this crow has seen dozens or hundreds of times, in dozens of different moods, postures, and routines. It has watched you fill a feeder gently, and it has watched you slam a door in frustration. It has watched you move slowly toward something, and it has watched you lunge to scare off a squirrel. Every one of those moments became a data point. The call you hear when you step outside is the running total of that data, broadcast in real time to a yard full of other species that will never meet you, never watch you, and never form their own opinion because the crow already formed it for them. This is the part that should sit with you for a second. You have been profiled. Not by a person, by a bird perched somewhere above your roofline that has had more consistent, repeated, undistracted observation time on your behavior than almost anyone in your life. This is also why the parenthetical in this video's title matters more than it first appears, and has for months. A single alarm call is data. Months of alarm calls is a relationship, even if it's one you never agreed to and never noticed forming. Crow researchers describe this long-term tracking as part of what makes the species so behaviorally distinct. They do not simply react to a stimulus and forget it. They build what amounts to a standing assessment, refined incident by incident, that can last for years rather than days. If your crow is still sounding the alert after months of seeing you do nothing more dangerous than carry out the recycling, that persistence is not malfunction. It's caution that has been earned by something of fast movement near the nest one spring morning, a dog that came out with you once, a sound your door makes that startled it early on and never stopped registering as worth flagging. Most people assume that if a bird hasn't shown obvious fear of them by now, the bird has simply gotten used to them. With crows, specifically, that assumption can be wrong in a way that's almost touching once you sit with it. The bird hasn't forgotten you're worth watching. It has just decided, for months running, that watching is still the responsible thing to do for itself, and for every smaller bird that depends on its call to know when to go still. Here's where this lands. Tomorrow morning, you are going to open that same back door, and for the first time, you're going to actually hear it, that one short call, fast and easy to miss, that you've walked past 1,000 times without knowing what it was doing. It is not background noise. It is a report being filed, in real time, by a bird that has watched you longer and more carefully than you have ever watched it. It is being received by chickadees and cardinals and wrens who will never know your name, but will trust that crows read on you completely. The way you'd trust a friend who said it's fine, it's just him about someone walking into a room. You didn't ask to be studied. You didn't ask to be the subject of a months-long behavioral file kept by a bird with a brain the size of a walnut and a memory that, in some respects, outperforms ours. But you have been patiently, carefully, without malice, and without ever once needing your permission. So the next time that call goes out the second you step outside, don't hear it as noise. Hear it for what it actually is. Proof that something has been paying very close attention to you in a yard you thought was empty except for the birds you chose to notice. You were never the only one watching. If a crow has ever called the moment you stepped outside or gone strangely quiet after months of doing it, tell me in the comments exactly when you first noticed. I want to know how long it took you to realize that sound was about you. And if this changed the way you'll hear your own backyard tomorrow morning, subscribe, because next week we're going somewhere in the bird world even stranger than this.